there, my name's Sarah, and this tutorial will cover the basics of the text tool in Clip Studio Paint. There's a lot to cover, so I'm splitting it into 3 videos. This one will cover the basics, and the second one will go over some advanced tips and tricks. The third will be about features especially useful for Japanese and other languages that use different alphabets. Let's jump right in. To start with, simply select the text tool icon. Click anywhere on your art canvas to bring up a cursor in the text launcher menu and begin typing. Depending on your settings and the size of your canvas, your text might be bigger or smaller than you expect. You may be tempted to change the text size in the Tool Properties panel, but nothing happens. However, if you type now, your added text is the new size. So the first thing to realize is you can have different text properties, including size, style, and color, within the same text block. As long as you're still in text editing mode, you can highlight specific text and make changes to it. You can also highlight all the text in this object at once by hitting Ctrl-A. Note that if you're using a version of Clip Studio Paint earlier than 2.0, this is the only way to make edits to the text size and style. If you're unhappy with your edits, you can click the Cancel button in the text launcher menu to undo them. Otherwise, when you're finished editing, click the checkbox to finalize it. Notice that adding text has created a new text layer which has a unique icon. You won't be able to draw on this layer. While you still have the text tool in this layer selected, the text will have a selection box around it. You can hide it by selecting a different layer or a different tool. The selection box allows you to move, resize, or rotate your text. Pay close attention to the shape of your cursor. Hover right over the border, away from any of the handles, to get the Move cursor. When your cursor looks like this arrow, you can click and drag to move the text object. Hover outside of the box to get this curved arrow, which allows you to click and drag to rotate your text object. Finally, hover over any of the handles, the dots on each side and corner of the box, to get this arrow, which lets you resize your text. This also changes the font's size property. You may notice your text getting taller or wider as you resize. To maintain its aspect ratio, hold down the Shift key. You can also check the Keep Aspect Ratio option in the Text Tool Properties. I like to leave this box unchecked, so I have the option to stretch my text at will. Hold down the Alt key to resize your text around its center point. To get back in edit mode, hover your cursor over the text until it changes to an I-beam, then click once. Now you can edit or add new text. I'll use the Enter key to move some of my text to a new line to demonstrate something else in a moment. And again, press the checkbox when you're done. I'll quickly run through the basic text properties, but you may notice me skip some. Don't worry, I'll be covering them very soon in the next 2 videos. If you're on CSP 2.0 or higher, the first thing you'll see is Apply To. With the option New Only selected, any changes you make to the text properties will only affect new text objects, or, if you're in editing mode, any text you have highlighted. The second option, Selected Text, was added with version 2.0, and I much prefer it. It means changes you make in the text properties will affect the whole text object, or objects you have selected. You can now change the font, size, style, color, and how the text is aligned, left, center, or right. The font drop-down will give you a list of every font installed on your computer, plus some other great features I'll dive into in my advanced text video. To find a bunch more text options, go into the Subtool Detail palette by clicking the wrench button here. For example, in the Font section, you can change the horizontal and vertical ratio, another way to stretch and squash your text. Character spacing and condensed text are 2 ways to control how much space is between letters. I'll save outlines and ligatures for my advanced tips video, and I'll cover tate chuyoko in a supplemental video about some of the non-English language features of CSP's text tool. In the line space alignment section, you can adjust the width between lines of multi-line text. One more I'd like to quickly point out is in the text section called anti-aliasing. If your canvas is big, you may have to zoom way in to see the effect. With it on, the edges of your font are blurred just a little to appear smooth. With it off, the edges are jagged. Speaking of multi-line text, you saw me add another line with the Enter key. But did you know that you can add text boxes with automatic line wrapping in Clip Studio Paint too? To do this in version 2.0, make sure the drag option is set to Create Text Box. Drag out a box somewhere on your canvas. When you type, your text will wrap. To convert a wrapping text box into a normal text object, use the wrench icon to open the Subtool Detail palette. Go to the Text section and uncheck Wrap Text at Frame. You can also check this box on a normal text object to convert it to a wrapping text box. This even works in CSP versions earlier than 2.0. You may have to manipulate the size of the box to get your text to wrap the way you'd like. Note that when you change the size of a wrapped text box, the font size doesn't change. The Align Frames option is only available with wrapped text. This simply aligns your text to the top, middle, or bottom of the box. You may have noticed this other box that appeared around all of my text. In Clip Studio Paint, you can have multiple text objects on a single layer. To enable this, go to Edit Settings and make sure How to Add is set to Add to Selected Text. The option Create Layer Always creates a new text layer for every text object instead. Detect Position adds a layer based on proximity to existing text, but for the sake of precision, I prefer to use one of the other two options depending on what I need. There are a couple ways to select multiple text objects. The default for selection mode only selects one at a time. I'll change the selection mode to Add to Selection. As the name implies, this lets you click to add multiple text objects to your selection. If you click an already selected text object, all others will be deselected, leaving only that one. The Toggle Selection option is similar. The difference is, if you click an already selected text object, it will be toggled back to deselected while all others remain selected. The other way is to change the drag option to select text. Then, clicking and dragging across your canvas will select all text objects you touch. You can now move, rotate, and resize them all together. If you're in version 2.0 or higher, you can also change all their text properties at once. That about covers the basics, but stay tuned for more in my advanced text video. If it's not up already, it will be soon. Be sure to subscribe for notifications of my new tutorials. Tag me at Ms.RedNebula on Twitter and Instagram and show me if you've made any creative uses of the text tool. I'll see you soon! A big thank you to all of my patrons, with a special shout out to Nova Tier patron Joe C. Phipps. Check out my Patreon if you'd like to help support future content like this.